This is Muhammad Hamouda speaking. Today we are going to talk about lexical problems in English and Arabic translation. Actually, in the previous lectures, we have addressed uh, grammatical problems in English and Arabic translation. We can talk about them briefly. Firstly, we have talked about the translation of verb to be, and we said that it is not necessary to translate verb to be as yakun. For example, he is a boy, not necessary to be translated as هو يكون طفلا. It is enough to render it as هو طفل. So, not necessary to render verb to be usually. The second issue is the translation of verb to have, and we have talked about it. It is not necessary to render verb to have as يملك. It has different have and has usually donate different meanings. Okay, we have talked about them and we have given for about 10 examples, and every example includes a verb to have, but the rendition of it is different. Also, we have talked about the translation of conditional sentences from English into Arabic, and we said that in English we have three main types of or three main uses of conditional sentences, while in Arabic we have only two types of conditional sentences. This constitutes a problem in translation because the number of types of the conditional sentences in Arabic and English is different. This means that we have a type in English does not exist in Arabic, and its rendition will constitute a problem. Also, we talked about nominal sentences and verbal sentences, and we said that nominal usually English are verbal sentences. English is verbal sentences because, or English sentences usually verbal because every sentence in English should or must include a verb. For example, he plays football. Every sentence includes a verb. While in Arabic, we have some sentences are nominal sentences and others are verbal sentences. So the rendition of verbal sentences, some verbal sentences in English can be rendered as nominal sentences in Arabic, also, or some verbal sentences can be rendered as verbal sentences in Arabic. But we have a very important issue that usually Arabic starts with a verb. يعني بنقول إحنا أكل محمد التفاحة. But in Arabic, in English, we said محمد أكل التفاحة. In English, I mean in English, محمد ate the apple. وبالتالي أنا في اللغة الإنجليزية ببدأ بالفاعل دايما، في اللغة العربية ببدأ بالفعل، وبالتالي ال word order is different except one issue. If we want to highlight the verb, the subject in this way or in this issue, we can start with the subject. يعني لو أنا بدي أركز على الفاعل، أسلط الضوء على الفاعل، ففي هذه الحالة بستخدم النومينال sentences، وبترجم الاسم وببدأ بالاسم في الترجمة. فبحكي أحمد أكل التفاحة، ولكن normally usually we start with the verb. Okay. Also, we have talked about the translation of adjectives. In Arabic, we use wa. يعني محمد is محمد طالب ذكي ومجتهد ومتميز وبالتالي كل أنا ما بعد الصفات فبستخدم و ولكن in English we use comma. Muhammad is an excellent uh, handsome and intelligent boy. وبالتالي أنا بستخدم وقبل الأخيرة بستخدم and. Also في اللغة الإنجليزية الاسم نقول an intelligent boy فأنا استخدمت الصفة وبعدها الاسم. أما في اللغة العربية الغلام الذكي استخدمت الاسم وبعده الصفة. Actually all of these issues we have talked about them in the previous lectures. Today we are going to move and to talk about lexical problems. Actually, lexical problems, these problems occur at the word level. Also, they are the most or the widest type of problems and difficulties that students usually face. Why? Because the overuse of word for word translation, usually students or especially the beginners or the beginners in translation studies usually think that a translation means the replacement of source language vocabulary into their equivalent terms in the target language vocabulary. So the overuse of literal translation or word for word translation, uh, this reason makes lexical problems occur usually. Okay, now we should differentiate also between metaphorical versus non-metaphorical meaning. Actually, uh, we have two main types of words. The first one is grammatical words, the second one is lexical words. Regarding the grammatical words, these words have no meaning. They only have a grammatical function. For example, verb to have. She has participated in the conference. Now, has it is called grammatical word. Why? Because it has only a grammatical function to donate the present perfect tense, but it does not have a lexical word or a lexical value. I mean a lexical denotation or a lexical value. This is the first type, while the second type of words is the lexical words. Lexical words, these words have specific meanings and they make up the language. Now, also a very important issue is the relationship between words and language. Actually, this relationship is similar to the human body and its parts. For example, the human body can't work very well without the existence of its parts. The same, the language can't convey its functions without using the certain and suitable words. Okay. Uh, Okay. Now, regarding the literal translation, we have three groups. The first group for now group A or group A. Wood floats on water. يطفو الخشب على الماء. أنا بلاحظ إنه literal translation in in this sentence give gives us a very comprehensible and understood uh, very comprehensible meaning which can be understood. The second also sentence answer my question please أجب عن أسئلتي من فضلك. Also this sentence is rendered literally. So the first group is consisting of words or sentences that can be rendered literally, and this literal rendition is correct. While in sentence B, rainy day يوم ماطر أو يوم أسود. لو أنا إجيت ممكن لو حكيت أنا it is، لو طلعت الصبح أنا قلت it is rainy day. لو أنا يعني اليوم ماطر، الجو اليوم ماطر، وبالتالي هنا correct translation. ولكن في سياقات أخرى ما بنفع أترجمها يوم ماطر، مثل keep your penny for a rainy day. احفظ أو خبئ أموالك ليومك الماطر ولا ليومك الأسود. طبعا هنا this is a metaphorical use of language. So some expressions have metaphorical use and non-metaphorical use. Non-metaphorical use means literal translation, in which the literal translation gives the meaning and conveys the intended meaning, while the non-metaphorical sense means free or sentence. I mean sense for sense translation. Also, it can this translation or idiomatic or free translation uh, is different from the literal translation, since the literal rendition does not give the meaning. In free translation, we translators usually give the intended meaning either by paraphrasing or writing the equivalent term, suitable equivalent term, or other strategies. So, in this way, some expressions like group B, expressions in group B have two levels of meaning. The first one is metaphorical and the second one is non-metaphorical. We can, or translators can determine the needed one by relying on the context. As translators, we rely on the context to determine if this expression is used literally or metaphorically. Okay. لو أنا حكيت ugly person ممكن يكون فعلا شخص قبيح، ممكن أنا يكون قصدي تصرفاته بذيئة أو تصرفات بشعة التصرف، تصرفاته مش لطيفة. وبالتالي هنا في عندي metaphorical sense وعندي non metaphorical sense. نشوف إحنا الجروب 3 enough is enough. هنا أنا لو قلت كاف وكاف literal translation, this literal translation does not give any meaning, but we rely on free translation to figure out the intended meaning. فإنف is enough ممكن أترجمها بلغ السيل الزبا. وبالتالي أنا المجموعة الثالثة هذه فقط تشمل expressions and sentences that can be used only idiomatically or literal or or non-literal translation. So we have three groups. The first group, grammatical issues or grammatical issues is are acceptable that can give us a correct translation or acceptable translation, while group B, it has the same expression has two different levels. One of them is semantic while the other one is communicative or literal versus um, اللي هو literal versus sense for sense translation. أما جروب بي، جروب سي اللي هو آخر جروب فقط بيشمل على جمل تحتوي على سي، على نوع استراتيجية واحدة، واللي هي أو هذه الجمل بيلزمها استخدام استراتيجية واحدة اللي هي none or sense for sense translation. Sense for sense translation. We have talked about these rainy day. We can rely on the context and the surrounding words. If the context refers to a non-metaphorical use, then we can render it as a non-metaphorical use, while the opposite is true. اوكي. طيب احنا هنا نقول راتب سمين، ما بنحكيش احنا فات سلري، ما بنحكيش راتب سمين، وانما راتب عالي جدا او راتب مجزي I mean. وبالتالي فهنا راتب سمين literal rendition does not give an intended meaning. طيب نجي نكمل الآن، احنا نكمل الجملة أو نكمل الدرس. طيب look at word for word translation. We speak English. نحن نتكلم الإنجليزية. and actually it is an acceptable translation. Who are you من تكون and also the same. طيب some expressions for like he fell ill. منقولش احنا سقط مريضا، طبعا احنا بنقول مرض. why؟ because ill is an adjective in English. It has no lexical item that can donate its usage. So fill is used only for grammatical purpose to make a sentence with ill. Okay, so this ungrammatical use of can't or does not reflect a good translated version. Also five for or for the man is dying. الرجل يكون ميتا. هنا literal translation is not acceptable. Why? Because it is this sentence or the translated sentence is incorrect, does not give any meaning or specific meaning and so on يعني. وبالتالي هنا هو سقط مريضا، أنا ترجمت سقط فقط to make up the sentence. هو في اللغة الإنجليزية ممكن نكون الجملة بدون سقط وبدون هذه الأشياء، بدون الجبس بشكل عام. أوكي. آه هو يكون هو سقط مريضا. أنا ما في داعي أترجم في لا سقط لأنه مريض، لأنه أنا عندي في اللغة الإنجليزية أنا ما عندي فعل لمريض، بينما في العربي عندي فعل لمريض يمرض، هو يمرض، وبالتالي بستخدم صياغة الفعل وخلاص. أما في اللغة العربية، في اللغة الإنجليزية بستخدم الفعل fill only to make the sentence grammatically acceptable. Okay. Okay, look at this sentence. Security Council can be rendered literally as مجلس الأمن أو أمن المجلس أو مجلس الحرب. نجي مجلس الأمن، هذه هي الترجمة المعتمدة والمتعارف عليها. مجلس الحرب, this expression is used only for ideological purposes, while أمن المجلس gives us a complete wrong translation. Now, the next lecture, we are going to talk about translation of synonyms. Actually, feel free to ask me whatever you want, and that's it for today. Thank you very much. Stop sharing and